Hey guys, so I'm going to go through a quick tour of all the tanks that I currently have. I am doing all freshwater tanks, and I actually haven't kept an aquarium for about 5 years. And I just wanted to go over what I have set up right now, just to show you guys my process and my setups that I like to do. This is all very low tech, pretty cheap setups. So if you guys need some advice or some ideas on how to do all of this, this might help you out. So once again, I do freshwater aquariums. So this is what I have currently set up to start. This is my 10-gallon aqueon tank over on the side here. Now, unfortunately, this tank was actually had to be recycled, meaning I had to completely tear it down and rebuild it. Not as in rebuild, the actual tank itself, but I mean in the fact that I did have a outbreak of collimaris in this tank. Actually, it's a fungal disease, and it's particularly contagious. It was a really virulent strain. It just wiped out my entire population of fish. Fish, unfortunately, not everything, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. But unfortunately, all my fish did pass for the most part. So I did have to sterilize this whole thing and start the cycling process once again. So if you guys want to do another video, if you want me to go through that process of how I sterilized, I can go through that with you. So right now it's redone. Everything was sterilized with the bleach solution. If you do it correctly, bleach is perfectly safe and very effective at sterilizing aquariums. So there is a process for that. It is not straight bleach. It is a diluted solution. Once again, I can go through that in another topic, another video. Just to go over my setup in here, right now I have forgone the live plant situation just because I wanted to start a little cheaper, go with the fake plants and look for some deals and some stuff on clearance in terms of fake plants, which is often the case, particularly at local fish stores, but sometimes the big box chains like Petco, PetSmart, you can get really cheap stuff if you grab it on sale. So just to go through the stuff I have in here, I have river rock on the bottom. And because I'm not doing a natural plantscape, this is as natural as I can try to make it. And I try to do it as natural as I can to make it look more realistic rather than all that gaudy kind of fake stuff in a tank. Not that that's a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But for me, I prefer a little more natural look. Some people love the really colorful rock and, SpongeBob kind of decorations in there, whatever you want, to each their own. But again, for me, I like the more natural look. So if you do like this look, you can take some pointers from here. All the plants in here are silk plants. So you can see they flow a little more naturally. They look a little more natural. And 2 silk plants on the other side. I did happen to get a big package of these on clearance for like, I think $7 at my local fish store. So that's why I have a bunch of those. Typically those are a little more pricey, but if you want to go silk plant route, try to look for some on clearance, which these happen to be. And then I have a cave there. I also have a 50-watt aqueon heater. Heaters are very important for freshwater aquariums, especially tropical freshwater aquariums, which is what I have set up right now. Heater is on with that little red light there. That'll tell you that. And again, this is an aqueon setup with the hood, but I do have a different filter. On the back here, the reason why I grabbed this filter, it does keep the water a lot clearer. I prefer this kind of filter here. This is a Aqua Clear 30 filter. You can see if you hear over me talking, it's not that loud. So the only real noise it makes is when the water is kind of falling into the tank there. It does have an adjustable flow rate, which is great for slower swimming fish. And it's a 30, which means that it goes from anywhere from 10 gallons, which is what this is, up to 30 gallons. So you can reuse this filter in a larger tank if you want to do that. So that's great too. Last but not least, I have a digital thermometer on the side, which I absolutely love. I prefer those, if we move over here for a second, to the regular thermometers just because they seem to be quite a bit more accurate, and you can get the temperature just real quick by looking at it. So I do have that as well. So that is my 10-gallon setup. And you'll notice that the filter, another great thing about the Aqueon too, is that it does seem to aerate well for a filter. So I don't have any air stones in here just because you can see even the flow rate is pretty strong right now. And the bubbles are kind of forming as they go. But that is the 10-gallon. Moving over now to my 20-gallon. This is my pride and joy here. The reason being is because I've got a bunch of baby guppy fry in here. And what was sad but also exciting at the same time was that when my tank over there had an outbreak of collimaris, the female guppies actually dropped their fry, I think, and I suspect a little prematurely, because there were some stillborn fish. But because they were ill and they were stressed out in that environment, they did drop the fry. So I went and grabbed them, kind of rinsed them off as best as I could, you know, kind of put them in a little holding tank for a bit and moved them over to the 20. So I fully am aware that I may have cross-contaminated, but I was treating that tank with some medications. I can go over that in another video as well. So I am hoping that these guys were only in there just enough to, they were still in the medicated water and they haven't cross-contaminated, which they all look very healthy. So I am hoping for the best. But going over what I have in the 20. This is a topfin 20-gallon aquarium. The big thing and the big difference I noticed between topfin and aqueon, everybody has their favorites. Some people hate topfin, some people like it. Some people hate aqueon, some people like it. The biggest thing that I notice is the black silicone, which is on the side here. And I love that look. It's just me, but it just really frames the tank, especially if you don't have a rimless tank, so which means you've got, you know, the edges on it. I love that look, and I think it looks really polished, whereas on an aqueon, excuse me, you'll see that the silicone is clear or white. This one actually is an older tank, so the silicone's actually sort of discoloring a bit, but that's what the difference is. You can see the edges there. The other things I have in this tank, I have a regular thermometer, as I showed before. So it's just it actually came with the kit, one of the kits rather, not this one, but it had a thermometer in it. And then I've got a little decoration. Once again, the natural river rock. I really like that look. I have a purple silk plant on the back there. Green silk here. This is the only plastic one I have, but I love the bushiness of this plant, and it's great for the fry too, to feel secure. So again, until I get live plants, I've got that one going on, and it kind of covers the heater in the back there and the filter intake as well. And then last but not least is this silk plant in front. Let me back up a little bit. So overall, the total look of this tank is pretty nice. Just pan over there. And I also forgot to mention what adds a lot of depth to aquariums are the stick-on backgrounds. And I forgot to mention that for that one too. You can see I didn't smooth that out very well, which I will have to fix that. That actually looks really horrible from this angle. So I will have to change that. But you can see the background looks really good. Not over there, but over there, you can see it. It really adds a lot of depth in addition to this tank as well. So that really helps to hide the filters in the back or any cords that you may have hanging from the back of the tank. Those are pretty cheap as well. And then another good thing about topfin is that the feeding mechanism, hold on, let me, got a cord here, sorry about that. The feeding flap is a lot larger, and it just seems a little bit of better quality than the aqueon, which is just a little flippy thing. And my cats like to actually stand on these hoods, and they oftentimes will hit this and it'll go in the water. So I noticed that the top fin's a little better at that, which is once again a larger flap. And then on this one, I actually have the top fin filter. So the top fin filter is pretty nice. Comes with biological filtration here. I added these stones here, the filter media actually. And then I also added filter floss in the front. It just helps to clear up the water a little bit more. There's also a carbon cartridge in there. Again, this filtration is actually adjustable, so you can open and close it here. Again, also very quiet in comparison to the aqueon. And this light indicator will tell you when your filter media needs to be changed, which is cool. And that's really it for the 20. So we'll take another look here. See if I can zoom in on the babies while they're swimming around. I have about 15 or so in here. Again, they're probably about 4 days old right now, swimming around very happily. So there they are. And then lastly, if I can back up a little bit more, is my 5-gallon down here. Also, I know I need to, it actually looks really horrible on camera, but I need to fix the background that I have. I have a black stick-on background. But in this one, this is my 5-gallon quarantine tank. I have an aqueon heater, a 50 watt as well. I also forgot to mention the heater in here is a 100 watt heater for the 20. Aqueon heater in here. This is a topfin tank with the black silicone. 2 silk plants, and the river rock is on the bottom, and a little statue thing, what's it called, arch, in the center. So pretty bare in here. I could almost forgo the decorations completely just because it is a quarantine tank. I really don't need all of that, but in case I decide to turn this into a betta tank, I do want to leave that stuff in there for now. And on the very back, I have the smaller version of that filter on my 5-gallon, and it just barely fits under here. That's the baby fish food that I've got on the top there, but it just barely fits under this shelf. So I've really got the 5 and 20 kind of together, and then my 10 next door over there. The stand that I have is a Newport Imaginarium, I'm not sure what it's called. Imaginarium, I think, stand. It was from Petco for like $50, and it holds the 20 perfectly. So might be pushing it a tad with adding the 5 on the bottom, but I haven't noticed any ill effects. So stands are really important as well. You don't want to just use any piece of furniture. You want to use something that you know is going to support the tanks. A 10-gallon tank alone is probably about 100 pounds, even more so with water and gravel in it. So multiply that even higher with a 20. So the 20 is quite heavy. 5 is a little less so. So that is pretty much it. That's kind of a long-winded tour of everything, but just wanted to really go through and in depth my setup here. I also have some of these buckets that I use quite often to change out water, and I have designated buckets for each tank. You certainly don't have to do that, especially if you are confident in the water quality of your tanks and everything. But since I had that outbreak, I've been really careful, trying not to reuse things until I have an ability to, or the opportunity to sterilize. So I do use those quite a bit. So that is pretty much it. So if you have any questions on any of my setups, anything in general, I'm probably going to do more videos on tips, advice, things like that. But this was just a start and give you guys a tour. So I hope you enjoyed these videos. Please make sure to subscribe, provide comments, like the video, whatever you'd like to do. And thank you.